Welcome to the Travel Like a Boss podcast, where we interview location-independent entrepreneurs that travel the world like a boss by being their own boss. Here's your host, Johnny FD.
Hey guys, it's Johnny and welcome to episode 185 of the Travel Like a Boss podcast. Happy New Year, happy goal setting, and happy to have you on, my best buddy, Sam Marks.
Hey Johnny, I love the tan. You look so, I don't know if it's do I have a high definition screen, but you look really like smooth. Skin is looking good this year. You look radiant. I think 2018 is looking good for you.
I appreciate that. Actually, I've been looking in the mirror every day, telling myself, the goal of my life is to give love to myself first so I can have love to give to others. And part of that is eating healthy, getting back in shape, having the energy to be able to thrive. And that's why I wanted to have you on this podcast, is so we can talk about our goals for 2018, as well as do a recap of 2017, because I think we've both done some pretty interesting things.
It has been an interesting year, and goals are extremely important. I know you do a lot of goal setting each year. I was just at this house, or I am at this house for New Year's, and one of my buddies brought up, well, so what's everyone's goals for 2018? And everyone just goes, quiet, I'm watching the movie. Oh, quiet, I'm watching TV. And I think that if you are an ambitious person, goal-oriented, that has a forecast for where you want to be in life, you have to write down very, very specific goals each year. And then at the end of the year, you have to really do a recap and see how far you got. And it's super important. I don't think enough people do it. I think people set really abstract goals. But if you want to get somewhere in life, you have to make very, very specific goals, and you have to measure what matters most.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Everyone who I've known who has had big goals, everyone who's been really, really successful, all the multimillionaires I know, they all had very specific goals, even if it was just something like, I want to have a Lamborghini one day. And they would have a poster on the wall of that specific car they wanted. They had it in their mind all the time. I'm curious if you grew up with any goals or ambitions like that.
Oh yeah, massively. I was always an extremely visual person, and I grew up similar background to you, kind of middle, lower class, never had a lot of new things. My friends always had decent cars. We always had used cars. My roof, like my ceiling growing up as a kid, was only like, I want to say it was 7 foot high. So every time I took my shirt off, I would like hit my hands on my fan and stuff. It was just like a lot of limiting things growing up. But I was also living in South Florida, so there's a lot of wealth and a lot of people that had made it. I think the most important thing that I ever did in my entire life was create a list, basically a bucket list. But my bucket list included a lot of goals that I wanted to reach. It wasn't like before I died. It was I wanted to reach these by the time I was 30 years old. And I created the list. I put it out there. I started trying to do 2 or 3 things each year, and naturally my list grew as I got more and more and more ambitious. But the goal setting and creating very, very specific goals is the most important part. There's a book called The Alchemist, which kind of talks about the fable, but it talks about how powerful it is to follow your dreams. And when you create things, and it's specifically when you write something down on pen and paper, create that goal, and you put that goal out there and you live your life following that goal, the universe does really, really bizarre things to help you achieve those goals. Something that we may never be able to understand, but there's definitely a power in energy, and there's definitely a power in quantum physics. And when you write something down and you actually act on that intention, weird things happen to help you achieve those goals.
Yeah, it's strange because neither of us are very woo-woo or very like ultra spiritualist or ultra religious or anything like that. So I think a lot of people listening to this podcast might think, wow, that's kind of surprising that both you and Sam think that way. But it just works. It's one of those weird things that, it's almost no downside. If you write down goals, you take, an hour a month or something to really, reflect and look at them again and clarify your goals and your dreams and your ambitions and have positive thoughts towards it. It costs nothing, and the upside could be everything.
Yeah. So, of course, everyone's familiar with the book, The Secret. You might call it foo-foo. I think it's very real, especially if you read it at an impressionable point in your life. There's another book called The Power of Intention that is similar to The Secret, but it talks about you have to really act on this. You have to act on these goals. You can't just write down an idea or a goal and expect it to happen. You have to actually go out and take the initiative. And that's the most important part, right? It's the initiative in chasing that goal and the steps and the progress on up towards achieving that goal that make it a reality.
Yeah, definitely. If you just say you want to, have $1 million in the bank, but you sit on the couch and just order pizza all day and then spend all of your money every time you get a paycheck, you're probably never going to become a millionaire, no matter how badly you want it or how much you think about it.
What was your first financial goal?
Man, it was $600 a month. I mean, to be honest.
All right.
And what's so silly about that? So I actually am not a great example of someone who set big goals. And I think that's actually what's limited me from making more money. But my goal was so small. I wanted to be able to make $600 a month, through online income. And that way I can always be comfortable and I can always live in a cheap place like Thailand. Mm-hmm. The good news about me having that goal was, having the foundations to even, like, pretty much if you could make $100 a month online in supplemental income, so not from your main job, from, a truly passive income, that gives you the base to be able to scale and grow that. So luckily I took that $600 a month and I've been able to scale that to, 6,000 or more. But honestly, what has really held me back is not having that big enough goal of wanting more. And part of it is my fault because, in the heart of me, I'm a minimalist, I am frugal. I enjoy good value. I enjoy not having crazy things and, and not wasting money, and a lot of that was just growing up in an Asian family that was, pretty poor. My parents made, I think, like $30,000 a year or something. And I just never really dreamt that big. And also I never wanted the stress of having expensive things. But now actually my goal that I have discovered, at Date with Destiny is last year my goal was to be able to retire my parents and just give them enough money where they can kind of get by without having to work. So my mom, if you guys haven't heard the story, last year she started having, problems with her feet and, she had to go get surgery. And before she did, I said to her, I was like, look, surgery is not going to solve the problem. Just standing around in shoes all day, being a waitress, when you're in your late 50s, that's the problem. And I told her, I said, you know what, you're not making that much as a waitress anyways. Let me just replace that income for you, which is about $1,000 a month. And I've been very happy that she was able to quit that job and just, now she just does what she loves, which is playing this Chinese, violin called the Erfu. And that allows her to sit and that allows her to do what she loves. And honestly, I've been a bit stressed in these last couple of months when I was not working and I was living off of passive income mode and maintenance mode because that $1,000 a month was a big burden for me. And, cause in pure passive income without working at all, my income dropped to about $6,000 a month, which to a lot of people listening, they might still think, oh, that's amazing. But when, you factor in your own living expenses, then you factor in having to take care of someone else. Yeah. And, I'm doing other things like paying their property tax and things like that. So it really adds up. I was stressed thinking, there's a chance I'm not going to be able to pay this one day. And the last thing I want to do is tell my mom when she's 70 saying, hey, you got to go back to, standing on your feet 8 hours a day because I can't pay for it anymore. So my new goal is to make so much money that I can aim, and not necessarily that I'm going to get to this point, anytime soon, but just having that goal of aiming that I make so much money that I can afford to give them $10,000 a month and let them live in, luxury that they've never had is my new driving force.
But I think if you're going to make that goal a reality, you have to put a specific number on it. So if you want to give them $10,000 a month, that means you need to make, say, whatever. Maybe it's a net amount, or maybe it's a monthly amount or a yearly amount. But let's say that you want to be net 2.5 million, or you want to have income a month of, 30,000 or something like that. But make it a specific goal that would allow you to feel comfortable in giving that type of money to your parents. Because if you just make the goal, I need to make so much money that I can do something, it won't happen. But if you make it a specific thing, then you really, really get in line with that goal.
Oh, I like that a lot. So let's do the math on that. So that would be 120,000 a year to be able to give away, which means if I can get that and not have it be stressful, that means I need how much? So if, let's say that's 10% of what I'm making a year, I need to have 1.2 million.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you could say, oh, you could do that off 500,000 a year, but then you got to remember you are probably going to pay 30% in tax. So, it goes quick, right? That's 150,000 off 500, which leaves you with 350,000. If you're giving 120 to your parents, all of a sudden you don't have much left, right? But the other way you could look at it is, instead of saying, I need to make 500,000 a year, which is a lot of money to make a year, you could say, you need to have a big gain, a big capital gain. Like you could build it and sell something for 2.5 million. And then you could invest that money and have enough money to pay them that money forever, right? Instead of trying to make 500,000 a year, try to make 2.5 million in one big windfall. And then that would have the basically the same benefit, but might be an easier course to that end.
Yeah, I like that, because I just did the math. If I have 2.5 million in net worth, that allows me to be able to give them, 125,000 a year just from the investment gains that I'll get from it.
Right.
So essentially it'll cost me nothing. So that's the goal. 2.5 million in net worth.
There you go. Make it a reality. Write it down. Tell everyone you know about it. Work to that end. Yeah. And I think that's a great goal. A very selfless goal. And it's
yeah, because,
a good one.
Honestly, if it was just for myself, I would just come up with excuses on why I don't need it, or why I don't want to work that hard for it. Especially because I'm perfectly happy just living a pretty simple life. I've kind of grown up as someone who just enjoys like the simpler things. And that's actually a big reason why my income has slipped. But now, by having a goal that has nothing to do with me, it's a reason to work hard and, to be more driven.
Sure, for sure.
Yeah. So I know, if anyone hasn't listened to our other podcast, Invest Like a Boss, I want you guys to hop over right after this, or even just pause this and hop over if you guys are really excited about the money making portion of it, because Sam and I do a weekly podcast called Invest Like a Boss. And in episode 81, we talk about our New Year financial goals, what we did in 2017 to make money, as well as kind of, the financial investing side of it. So even if you don't have enough money to invest yet, I think that's a great episode to listen to, because it really sets the pace on what is possible. It gives you the mindset of how to invest like a multimillionaire and become, the 2.5 millionaire or more. So take a listen to episode 81, Invest Like a Boss. And that's where we basically had the other second half of this episode, but about the finances. So now that you've kind of, I don't want to say you've made it financially, but you can basically do what you want to do, in terms of travel and lifestyle. Like, what are your goals?
Well, I put the financial side to bed for a minute. I still have a big financial goal out there that I would like to try to get to in the next 3 years. When I created my bucket list of life goals and things I want to do, everything ranging from adventure, countries to visit, financial goals, just, ego boosting things, all types of things. In my list, my financial goals I wrote down were, the first one to attain was to make and save $400,000, basically save $400,000. My second one, which was in parallel, was pay off my parents' mortgage. My third one was to make $1 million in a day, which you basically would do through some type of big royalty or through building and selling something. My fourth one was to create $200,000 a year in passive income. My fifth one was to make $10 million in net wealth. And my sixth one was to make $20 million in net wealth. So this last year, I crossed off 2 more of the 5. So I've now completed 5 of the 6. And so I had the big ones.
Congratulations, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, this has been a journey alongside you, right? And I'll tell you what, like, the first 2 were much more cool than the last 2, right? The last 2 kind of happened. This was a really stressful year for me. And I realized that, chasing money is certainly not the be all end all of what makes you happy, right? Getting to 400,000 a year was much, much cooler than getting to 10 million in net wealth. And I think the same will be true for, hopefully getting to 20 million one day. But my goals are changing quite a bit, right? They're definitely not strictly financial. I'm putting a lot of the ego, a lot of the travel, a lot of the the adventure, the notoriety, a lot of that stuff I'm putting to side. And you're reminded around the holidays that of what's really important, which is like quality time with your family, quality time with friends, selfless stuff. Like right now I'm staying at a house with 10 guys I went to college with and 3 of their dogs. And we're literally we bought a bunch, 2 cases of $2 Chuck from Trader Joe's, Trader Joe's. So we have like 20 bottles of wine, of $2 wine, and we're just sitting around watching The Office. So you're kind of reminded of those things, especially on the way up, that a lot of times when you're chasing the money, like I did last year, you get yourself into a lot of conflicts, a lot of stress, a lot of unpleasant situations. And of course, there's the euphoric moments when you hit these things, but it's sort of diminishing returns along the way, right? So I'm just trying to reshape things around what I know about happiness. Like I've studied happiness a lot the last 2 or 3 years. I know for sure what makes you happy. I know what makes me happy. I don't always follow that path. Sometimes I take a path of more, financial goals and self-serving goals, but I know what I need to do to make myself happy. Whether I follow that course or not is kind of a yearly decision based around my goals for that year. But this year will definitely be more around having a very good community around me and less self-serving goals.
I love it, man. That's really cool. And one really thing that I'm very happy for that you started doing is you started doing like a yearly long walk. And how did that actually start? Was Koh Samui the first year, or like what was the origin of these yearly long walks?
Yeah, so Koh Samui was the first year. That was 2 years ago, and I really enjoy having space. As much as I enjoy being around friends and community, I also love having just absolute space where it's one schedule of my own. It's a place that is either inspiring or there's a good element of good attributes around. So Koh Samui is obviously awesome. You're around Thai people, beautiful beaches, paradise. And what I realized is I like a very simple format and a simple routine. I mean, this goes totally contrary to what a typical day is for me, which is like 40 things on a to-do list and a 12-hour workday and a lot of other crazy things. But when you just get out, and we learned this also on the Ireland walk, which we can mention in a second, but when all your day is waking up, having a coffee, walking, or doing something that's extremely rudimental for 4, 5, 6 hours a day, finishing, and then by that time you're wiped out, exhausted, and then your night is basically reading a book, having a meal, and going to sleep. First off, your day is very, very simple. It's goal oriented. You're in nature. You get exercise, and your transactions per day, your cost per day go down to like 2 things. It's like hotel, food, coffee. Whereas a typical day, especially in Thailand, I'm spending like out of pocket 30 times a day because everything's good value. But when you get to that simple form of life and you have a lot of time to think, you have a lot of time to read, you listen to audiobooks, it's just a beautiful, beautiful thing. I don't think I could do it all year round, but after the Koh Samui walk and you have that sense of accomplishment, I fell in love with that type of trip. It makes it so much more memorable and enjoyable than, a trip just to go sightsee and party, that I always wanted to walk across the country. So then we put together the Ireland walk, which we did last year, and that was easily the best point of last year.
Yeah, that was actually one of the best points of my year as well. If you guys haven't seen the video for that, it's amazing. I think I've already embedded Sam's drone footage as well. If I haven't, I'll put it up right now after this episode. But just go to johnnyfd.com and search for Ireland, and you can see our walk on the Wicklow Way, and then Sam's continued journey all the way across Ireland to Galway.
Yeah, that was insane. That was a beast. That was ended up being 28 days in total. And for about 14 days in between, like after you left, when we did the Wicklow Way together, Wicklow Way was amazing. I think we ended your journey on a 40, was it 40K or 50K? I think it was 50K over 30 miles, which is about as long as any humans can walk in a day. Like if you research military history, 30 miles in a day is pretty much the limits of any march from Alexander to the Falkland Islands with the British Special Troops. Like that is extreme. And after that was a great part of the walk. After that, we did the Midlands. It wasn't as great. It was really enduring. I had a lot of questions like, should we just leave? It's not worth it anymore. And if we hadn't been doing it for that charitable cause and I already had like 70 people donate to it, I probably would have left. But it's one of those trips that it's not great every single day. But once you finish, every single day that you reflect on it, it gets that much better. And all of a sudden, like, you get to a point now where I'm like, wow, that was one of the best trips ever. And, you know, I would like to do so. I don't think I'm going to do something like this in 2018, but I would like to do something similar to this every single year as far as I can imagine.
You know what? Let's do a shorter version this year. It doesn't have to be, you know, a 30-day walk like you've done or a month-long walk.
Yeah.
But I think these like 7 to 10-day walks are the perfect amount of time because really, you know, even though it's a big commitment of a week, it's doable. Like it's, you know, if we can't slip in, you know, 7 days in a year, then there's something wrong with our lives.
For sure. And that guys, if anyone out there listening, like the conversation, if you bring some good friends, like we had such a good group on the Ireland walk, the conversations you have, like you're not playing on your phone, you're not distracted by things. It's you, nature, and some good friends, and you're talking about life and the important things. It's a really good experience. Johnny, I think this year what looks the best is we're talking about going to Iceland in June, and instead of walking, we're talking about riding bicycles. There's basically a perimeter road that goes all the way around Iceland. It's about 800 miles, which actually on a bike, it's quick. Like you could do that in 8 days, right? If it's pretty much flat. So I think that's kind of what we're considering doing.
Okay. So I'll definitely look into that. Iceland sounds beautiful. Sure it is. So I'll definitely consider doing that. I'm really excited that we actually just started our kind of a personal Facebook group for planning hiking or trekking, I guess, up to Everest Base Camp in 2019.
Okay, so I saw that group, but I was confused because you were originally talking about doing it in 2018. So is that for sure a 2019 thing?
Yeah, because I've realized that, you know, hiking to base camp is not an easy trip. It's I think it takes about 14 days. This is two weeks of walking. Well, not even walking, but climbing up to the mountains, and it's a very, very high, you know, climb. It's I think it's like 16,000 feet or something. So, you know, higher than most high mountains that you'll climb. And the reason why it takes 2 weeks to do it is not only because, you know, there's snow and it's difficult, but also the elevation's so high that if you do it too quickly, you know, you get altitude sickness and you gotta have a helicopter evac and you just basically die. So instead of trying to fit it in this year without too much planning or training, by having it be a goal 13, 14 months from now, it gives us something to focus on, to, you know, plan for, but really to physically prepare for.
That's the way to do it. I'm definitely down to do that in 2019. It's something that has been on my list for a long time. I did Bhutan by myself 2 years ago, and it made me not want to do Everest Base Camp because when I was in Bhutan by myself for like 8 days, I was just like, wow, this is so incredibly boring. Like, it was beautiful, but the altitude got to me a bit. I got altitude sickness on Kota Kinabalu going back a few years ago. It's probably one of the most unpleasant feelings in the entire world. And Everest Base Camp is a beast. Like, I'm like, I don't know if I can do 14 days just out there doing that. But if you do it with a group, I think it would be an absolute incredible experience. But like you said, I think it needs a solid 6 months to a year of thought and planning before you just go jump into it. Because once you're there, you're also disconnected. Like, you got to be able to shut everything down for probably 3 weeks. Yeah.
So I love the goal for that, to have our businesses so automated that we can check out for 2 or 3 weeks at a time without internet, that we can be physically fit enough where we won't be dying. Cause I also climbed Mount Kinabalu, and the problem with that place is because it's the easiest of the high mountains. So it's 4,000 meters, which is about 15,000 feet. It's one of those things where a lot of people don't really plan for until like a few weeks or a month before they get to Asia. Cause they're like, what's there to do in Borneo? What's there to do in Indonesia? And they're like, let's climb this mountain. And that's why I think 25% of people don't make it to the top. The people that do make it to the top, unless you're already super fit from something else, you feel like you're going to die. And I felt the exact same way. And I never want to go through that feeling again of, you know, just just like wanting to puke out my guts for the last, 4 hours of walking. So the goal really is, to have the challenge, but without feeling like I'm going to die. And it sounds silly, but that is going to be the happiest thing I'll ever do, is be able to get to Everest Base Camp without feeling like I'm going to, literally pass out.
So, I know in 2016, I listened back to one of our episodes about a year ago. 2016, you and I both went to 17 countries, and we were saying in 2016, we went to 17 countries apiece, even though we didn't follow the same travel agenda. And in 2017, we were talking about dialing it down because 2016 was just like this massive whirlwind. So I figured out that I just added it up. I went to 10 countries. I'm still pretty exhausted from it. Do you know how many you got to?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I actually just wrote my 2017 year in review on johnnyfd.com, so you guys can read that. But I'm very, very proud of myself. I only went to 8 countries.
All right. So we dialed it down significantly.
Yeah. So that was my goal, was to go to less places, but stay in each one longer. So I spent 2.5 months on the Canary Islands. I spent 2.5 months in Bali. I spent 2.5 months in Ukraine. I spent 2.5 months in Thailand. So really just was a lot easier to live a normal life, get into a routine, and just be able to really settle in to a place versus having it all go by and having it be a blur.
Yeah, I agree. I still feel like at the end of this year that I had done too much. What I like to do each year is try to get to a couple new countries. So another big goal of mine is to get to 100 countries, which I'm now in striking distance of. I think I'm just past 90. I might be able to get to 100 this year, although I'm not in a rush, so I don't want to stretch it. But I got to my 2 new countries I got to this year were Andorra, which is an awesome little country sandwiched in between Spain and France. It's like a little bit of Switzerland. It's a really, really cool place. Highly recommend it. And I got to Cuba.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to Cuba. So that was a cool one as well.
And I think these are kind of just things that, as a digital nomad or someone who's location dependent that can work online or make money online, it's good to have these goals because it gives us something to look forward to. So even if you guys are just starting out and your goal is just to be able to come to Thailand, just to be able to live cheap in one country, it's kind of nice to hear what else is possible. Because I think the worst thing that someone can do is come to a place like Thailand and be trapped here because you feel like this is it, that you can't afford to go anywhere else, that your visa run is going to be determined by whatever the cheapest flight you can find on AirAsia it is, staying for the least amount of time possible, maybe even coming back the same day just to save money on hotels. And to me, it's saddening to me because that was almost my life. And that was actually my life for a while, where I was literally making visa runs by going into a minivan, crowded bus, sitting in a car for 6 hours, stamping my passport at the closest border, and then literally just driving straight back and just, not enjoying life, like literally being in a 250 baht taxi for 10 hours.
Yeah, I found it interesting the last couple of years. I went from when I had the business in Britain, I had very few options. I had kind of weekend options, but I knew my life was going to be between Scotland and China, and I didn't have a lot of options outside of that. And now I'm at a point where the options are sort of unlimited, and that's actually a struggle. I think having options is good. Having too many options or unlimited options is actually really bad because you never get settled in the head. And that's something that's, I think, an evolving challenge, especially for, digital nomads, that they can live anywhere, they can be anywhere. You got to do kind of like what you did. You have to be able to dial it down and say, okay, instead of going to 20 countries this year and doing everything I want to do, let's try to focus a little bit more on quality of life and more of a real routine and real structure. Because when you get into this habit of just getting on a plane and going wherever your heart desires, it doesn't end up becoming a good thing. It's a thrill for a little bit, but it ends up leaving you really unfulfilled and dissatisfied, I think, a lot of times.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And I think there's a big movement towards what I would call digital nomad 2.0 or long-term nomading, especially now that we've had a lot of friends who have been doing this for 2, 3, 4 years. And instead of going back home, being burnt out and saying, okay, I give it all up, there's a lot of people who are settling down in different countries still, but for longer periods of time, whether it's 6 months at a time or even longer.
Yeah, love it. So what's on your agenda for 2018? First off, I think it's really great that it seems like you're rekindling a lot of your travel desire, because I thought you were going to kind of stay in one place a lot longer, not like 2 months, but maybe look for like a home base for like 6 months. It seems like you got a lot on the agenda for 2018, 2019, which I'm secretly, selfishly happy with, because I'm hoping we can tie in.
Yeah, dude, you are always invited to wherever I am. You can just show up. You don't have to say, Johnny, I'm coming. You could just check my Instagram and just show up. Mm-hmm. And actually, to all of you, it's not that I'm going to, necessarily become your roommate or spend that much time with you, but I always love meeting up people who listen to the podcast. So if you guys are ever in the same city, just give me a shout and let me know, and we can try to do a meetup over coffee or something. Especially if we can get a group together with enough people to all hang out. So my goal for 2018, actually, it's funny that you brought that up, was about a month ago, before going to Tony Robbins' Date with Destiny, I really wanted to settle down somewhere. And I was thinking, do I want to settle down in Thailand, the Canary Islands, or back in the US somewhere? Because I felt like I needed that certainty of comfort and having, a place where I'm living, I can kind of create a life. And what I got out of that seminar, Date with Destiny, one of the big takeaways was that I just have to be okay with a little bit of uncertainty in my life. And it really is just having that balance. And chasing certainty is a certain way of being unhappy, because we can't control others. We can't control what happens in the world. And the only thing we can control is the way we react to it. So by me wanting to live in one place and chasing that certainty of everything being the same and being comfortable and being, just knowing what's going to happen is going to drive me nuts, because we can't control that. So now, I realized, hey, I'm just going to be happy wherever I am. I'm going to be open to settling down, to, having long-term plans or opportunities, whether it's relationship wise or other, but I'm not going to try to force it. And that's made me a lot happier and a lot kind of just more mentally free.
That's cool, man. That's deep. I like the Date with Destiny reference. I have been going through a lot of the same. In fact, going into this new year, my goal was to find a home base in the US. What I realized is I enjoy going to Asia so much because I have a home base there. I have a closet there. I have an apartment in Chang Mai at the same building you stay at that is turnkey. Like, as soon as I get off the plane, I'm there. I'm home. And that's a really comfortable, grounding feeling. And when I go anywhere else in the world, it's the opposite. And for most places, that's okay. Like Europe, it's fine. South America, it's fine. Because I know I'm going to those places for vacation. I'm not going to live there long term. But when I go to the US, it's a really uncomfortable feeling, because I'm from the US. When I come here now, it's all hotels, which it sucks staying at hotels in the US. They're expensive. They're low quality for the most part for the price. But then I get to like my parents' house. Like, I stay at my parents' house or stay at my sister's house, and I feel like I'm an inconvenience. Like, I'm a kid or a nuisance. I'm staying there for extended periods of time, and I never feel like I'm home in the US anymore. I don't have a closet, and it's really, really uncomfortable. So my big goal was find a home in the US, and every place that I've been over the last 6 weeks, I've been on Zillow looking at real estate. I've been meeting with realtors. I've looked at actual properties to buy in San Diego, Tahoe, Greenville, Nashville. I'm going up to Asheville next week, and I just did 3 days in Savannah, and now I'm in Jacksonville, and like every single place, because every place is an option. Every place is an option. And it's like, it kind of mentally F's you, because like it's just too much, and I don't know what to do. But I definitely feel the need to set up a home base here and get a closet here, because it's too uncomfortable just keep traveling back and forth each year without a home. I
like it. One thing you could do is, instead of having it be like a home base that you leave empty year round is you can find some kind of like turnkey, either condo, or something kind of like low maintenance, or, I guess it can even be like a home, but with the property manager, have one closet that you have a lock on that you can just keep all your stuff in that closet. And then whenever you want to go back, just make sure that place is available. And that way you can actually technically have places in all 5 of those cities as long as they're cash flowing and still have that feeling of being able to go back to the same place, having your closet.
Yeah, I'm looking at those options, man. That would be a really cool thing to do, where like you own a place, you rent it out for 8 months a year, but then you still are able to use it for a month a year. We'll see. I love being at my buddy's place. Like, I wish I could just rent a room at his and keep a closet there permanently, but I don't know. I feel like I'm an adult now. I have the finances to do it. I might as well just buy a place. And Johnny, what else I really love doing? I love hosting and entertaining people. And this, in November, December, I had a bunch of friends come out to Chiang Mai and was able to host them. It was great. Like, I love to be able to do that, and I can't do that in the U.S., so I do need to get a place. It's just a matter of time. I just got to find the right location.
Okay. I love it. It's a great goal for 2018 to do. One of my goals, living situation wise, was to live in nicer places. So one of my big goal here in Chiang Mai was to be able to move into that big room with the floor to ceiling windows, the big living room, the separate bathtub from the separate shower. And I've been looking at this place literally for 4 years when I first started making money online, thinking one day I'm going to be able to afford that. And financially it never made sense, because even though I was technically able to afford it a few years ago, it was, 4 times the price or 3 times the price of my smaller room in the same building. And I just couldn't justify paying, 2-3 times the price for just a little bit more space, or a little bit more natural light, or a little bit more comfort. And this year that I'm living in this baller room with my giant windows and I can see the mountains, the swimming pool, and, have that peace, it is so worth it. It's worth every penny.
I didn't even notice. You're in one of the corner units.
Yeah, buddy. It's
what room?
Well, I don't know if I want to tell everyone on the podcast. I don't want people knocking on my door, but
I can guess it.
Yeah.
It's either does it end in a 2?
Yeah, it definitely does. And it is
okay. You're a 502. You're a 502.
Great. Thanks for telling everyone in the
world. So I own 602 and 702. So we're the ones right above you. Those units are amazing, and that's what I'm talking about. Like, so I live in 602. I rent out 702. That's my home, right? And you have like the closet, you have a great view, you have a good community there. If I went to Asia without that, and every time I was just going with a suitcase, like I got to figure it out again, I don't think I could do it. But I know I have a home back there, and that feeling is something that I want to replicate in the US, and I don't have it here. And now when I'm here, I'm like, I just feel like I'm an inconvenience, I'm a nuisance. I'm either asking people to stay at their places or burning money at La Quinta in shitty hotels. And I want to get a place. So it's either going to be Denver or I'm looking at Savannah. And those are 2 great cities to be able to host people and also connect to either Europe or Asia. So yeah, I don't know. I'm getting nostalgia looking at your 502 unit in Chiang Mai, because I love it's such a good little house.
Yeah,
home.
I absolutely love it here. And if anything, I'm okay now with just having a couple bags and settling in a place for 2-3 months and just really making it my home. What I've done now is I started like putting things up on the wall. So I have my vision board that I made at David Destin, and actually just tape that to the wall. So it feels more homey. It's it doesn't feel like I'm living in a rental unit. It feels like this is my house. I went to Trader Joe's and I bought everything that I miss from home. All the nice, types of tea, dark chocolates, but even things like hand soap, and body wash and shampoos and things like that you don't really get out here. And it's not that you can't get shampoo here, but whenever I, open my, take a shower and I'm using like my Dr. Bronner's peppermint soap, it just reminds me of home. It gives me all of the kind of the fuzzies and tingles of the comforts that I miss. And it's actually perfect. I can literally go home, once a year, see all my friends, all my family, stay in, your place or, at my buddy, David Vu's place, and, be able to enjoy that part, but then fill up a second suitcase with things that I don't mind consuming or throwing away after 2 or 3 months or giving away, and having the best of both worlds.
That's awesome. I love Chiang Mai. I don't think Chiang Mai will ever be a home to me, but it's a home in Asia. But there's certain great things that I've realized about coming home to the USA, as much as I dog it for a lot of reasons. Like, the people here you immediately get on with because it's the same culture. There's a lot of extremely convenient items that you can always pick up. There's a general sense of home. The TV shows are pretty awesome. So I've really enjoyed it. You know, I've really enjoyed is going to a lot of the small towns in the USA. I think a lot of the cities kind of, you know, they're good, but it's where all the madness in the US is centralized. But you get to some of these small cities that were around, like, that were booming in like the 50s. Some of these places in Arizona, Oklahoma, Tennessee, some of the places in the South are just amazing, man. Like, I've seen some of the coolest places and met some of the nicest people in the South. The food, the hospitality, the all brick sculptures. I really, really like the South. I think it's got a great future. And there's a lot of comforts of here that you don't experience in other places. So I've enjoyed it, but still missing that final piece to the equation.
Yeah, I definitely know what you mean. Like, the conveniences of being able to buy anything you want, anytime, anywhere, you know, especially even having it delivered within sometimes hours, if not the next day. It makes it really easy. The downside to it is it makes us buy so much stuff and just kind of be consumers, you know, because it's so easy to buy. And what that does is not only is it a financial drain, you know, we could have been using that money to invest or save up or, you know, or buy experiences with, but also physically it ties us down just having so much stuff, you know, and feeling like we have responsibilities, you know, even if it's just like things.
Yeah, my average spending month was $7,000. My most expensive month of the last 2 years was $13,000. Last month I spent $17,500, which I just figured out today. I almost threw up. Like, and there wasn't much to this month. You know, it wasn't like I had some big event or some big, you know, blowout spend. It was just hotels every night across the US. There was flights to the US. I just bought flights to Brazil. I bought tickets to a couple different conferences. And then also, my girlfriend's here with me. Well, when you're living for 2 people in Chiang Mai, it's nothing. It's not that much more than one person. But when you're living for 2 people in the US, every dinner is $100. I mean, every city we're in, we're trying to find a good restaurant. Go to a good restaurant, have a couple glasses of wine, good entrees, tip, tax, you're at $100. The travel here is really expensive. The hotels are $150 a night for a pretty shitty, like, La Quinta Inn. So it gets expensive fast. And that was a big eye opener that I spent $17,500 with really nothing to show for it, right?
Yeah,
I've never spent money like that in a month.
You can live a pretty comfortable life in Chiang Mai for an entire year with $17,500.
Isn't that crazy?
Like a very good life.
Yeah, and I hate to blow money. I hate to waste money. And most of my months in Chiang Mai were around $6,000. But, you know, I'm going out to eat 3 meals a day, nice restaurants, buying people, you know, all my friends drinks, living for 2 people. So it was a big eye opener to how expensive life can be here if you're not careful. And, you know, it's just one extra thing to balance for sure.
So I think a lot of people listening to this might think that you and I are insane for even thinking that number is acceptable or if normal.
It's not. It's not acceptable.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, I have no idea how you spend $6,000 in Chiang Mai per month. I think even now with staying in a room that is significantly more. So I used to pay, I think, $350 a month for my apartment. And that was actually considered a very nice apartment. You know, at the cheapest studio that I used to stay at was $200 a month. So the fact that I'm spending now $900 or close to $1,000, people think I'm insane, you know, because you can make, you know, you can live for a third of the price. But I think the Nomad kind of 2.0, the kind of next level is being able to enjoy the same quality of life than we would back in the US. But while living in a place like Asia where you have even better food, or at least Asian food, you have, beautiful nature. You have access to the mountains and scuba diving and warm weather year round, but also, more importantly, kind of the community of friends that we've now met from all around the world. So the goal, for a lot of people really should be, at least it was for me, to not have to live the good life on the cheap, for forever. Even though that was a very amazing 4 years of my life that I don't regret. And I'm glad I wrote 12 Weeks in Thailand and really cemented those 4 years of my life into a book where people can read and they can live that life until they're not happy anymore. And instead of being unhappy and being kind of the grouchy old, retiree in Chiang Mai that's complaining that prices are going up or complaining about, this and that, or giving up this travel lifestyle and moving back home, and being unhappy there. Instead, have it be a goal to be able to live a very luxurious life and be able to treat out friends and be generous and, spend money on those expensive things and live in the expensive high rise or expensive condo, even if you're spending, $2,000 to $6,000 a month in Chiang Mai and have 99% of people here think you're insane.
Yeah. I mean, I one of my biggest expensive in Chiang Mai is wine, as it is anywhere in the world. But in Chiang Mai, you can't get a decent bottle of wine really you can't get a decent bottle of wine in Chiang Mai for under like $75 because it's the three to four times markup. So even if you buy Yellowtail, it's going to cost you $25, right? $30. But at Rimping in Maya Mall, I'll go buy, they have pretty good bottles for $50. But I buy 20 bottles of red wine a month between myself and my girlfriend and, people we have over. So that's easily $1,000 a month right there.
Yeah. And it's insane. It's not, it's not necessary, but at the same time, if it makes you happy, if it makes your friends, happy that you can treat out and, and be able to share these cool things with. If anything, to be honest, people appreciate nice things like nice wine, nice chocolates, nice cheese in Chiang Mai more than they would back home because it's hard to get.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the good thing with Chiang Mai is you cannot blow money. Like even the craziest person that goes there they just can't get out of control. There's just not enough things to spend on. Like there's not limos. If you go try to pop bottle, the most you're going to pay for a bottle is $40 or $50, not like, $2,000 in Miami. So one time I took all the Muay Thai guys out from our Muay Thai gym. It was like 7 guys. We had like 4 bottles and it sent me back like, I don't know, like $140 or something, right? It was nothing. That type of thing in South Florida would cost you, $700 or $800, so, or even more. So yeah, it's a good place to contain and preserve.
I love it here. So to answer your original question of what I'm planning to do in 2018. So obviously everything changes, but here are the tentative plans. I'm going to stay here in Chiang Mai for all of January, all of February. The Nomad Summit is coming up in a few weeks, so I hope to meet some of you guys out here January 20th. And then February is a great month just to chill in Chiang Mai and just kind of relax until the burning season starts. Usually March 1st could happen, end of February. But basically, by having the freedom to book flights last minute, I'm just going to stay here until it actually starts. If I was going to estimate, it's going to start, February 25th or something. And at that point, I'm going to either go down to Koh Phangan for a month and chill there, or I'm going to head over somewhere beforehand. I have no idea where yet. I mean, I might even go, who knows? I might even go to Nepal just to scope it out for next year. But, I have basically a few months before heading back to Europe this summer because I've realized I love Europe in the summers. It was a goal for a long time to be able to afford to, to spend summers there. And I'm going to do a little, East and West Europe again. That way I can get a full 6 months there. I'm going to do 3 months in the Schengen zone and 3 months in Eastern Europe somewhere. Maybe Croatia, maybe, Greece and Iceland. Ukraine again. Maybe Iceland. Yeah. Iceland. So, I'll definitely see you in Europe. And the goal actually is going to be to come back to Chiang Mai. I'll probably go home for a month first, just to see everyone again, probably, September. But the goal is to come back and live here for between probably November, December, January, February again next year, maybe even come back a bit sooner and spend 5 or 6 months in Chiang Mai again because I love it here.
Good for you, man. Good for you. So, should I say mine?
Yeah. I would love to hear yours.
Okay, so 2018, I think will be. All right, so I'm gonna be in. Oh shit, where am I gonna be? Okay, I'm in Jacksonville now. Hold on, let me get my orientation. All right, so I'm gonna go up to Asheville, North Carolina after this. That kind of completes my southern tour. So I've tried to hit all the good southern cities to see if there's a place that I'd like to live. There's a lot of great places. So Asheville will be kind of my last stop. Then I'm heading to Miami for the North America Bitcoin conference. Hopefully hang out, have a couple shots with John McAfee down there and some other really cool guys. Looking forward to that conference. From there, I'm going to a bucket list item, Rio Carnival in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. I'm going to extend a trip. I was really just going to go for a week. I'm going to extend a trip for about a month, and I'm going to try to go down and knock out a couple other countries, Uruguay, Paraguay, and then come back up for Rio Carnival, and then come back up and head to Denver. I want to check out Denver, Colorado. I've heard great things. Going to spend probably a month there. Then go do skiing again in Tahoe, which was last year. Was unbelievable. The people, the environment, the skiing is second to none in the world. After that, I think I'm going to go down to Colombia for maybe 6 weeks, down to Medellin, another place I've been to Medellin 4 times, but the last time I went was 6 years ago. So before it got really popular, I'd like to go spend some time down there. And then hopefully we'll be Iceland. I would love you to come. We're talking about either walking around it, biking around it, or motorcycling around it. Beautiful country. That would put me to the end of June. And then after that, if it plays out like this year, I'm going to want to get to a place and just do nothing for 6 months and basically just be static, work, get into a good routine. But I would still love to do, there's so many places in Europe I love in the summer. I'd love to meet you up. I'd love to do more of the Mediterranean. There's a couple other countries I want to see. I want to do Tuscany. But we'll see how it plays out. I'm not going to make any plans after June because it could go so many ways, either coming back to the States or going to Asia or just continuing traveling depending on how business is going.
All right. It sounds good. Let's definitely make a plan to meet up this summer in Europe somewhere. It'd be fun to hang out again and see your face. For everyone else kind of listening to the show, have your goals written out, because without writing down goals, no matter how elaborate, or how unlikely it may seem, that's how you get to this point of making it happen. Mm-hmm. One of my big goals just a few years ago was to be able to spend a summer in Europe. And I didn't think it would ever be possible, especially when I was only making, $1,000 or $2,000 a month, which was more than enough to live in Asia year round. But it was not enough to live in Europe or go to Iceland, which is a very expensive country. So that was a goal I wrote down. I thought about for a long time. And now that I can do it every summer, you're going to see me in Europe.
I love it, buddy. I love it. Where's the number one place in Europe you want to go?
You know what?
Or spend time, actually.
Yeah, we're going to see, because I love all of Europe, because it's funny because when people go to Asia, it's exotic for them. I'm sure when you came to Asia for the first time, your mind was blown, like, oh my God, this is so different. And yeah. For me, because I am, I'm Asian, it's not that exotic. Even though Thailand was pretty exotic because it was different, I grew up in the Asian culture. I speak Chinese. I've been in Taiwan tons of times as a kid. So it just wasn't mind blowing for me. But when I go to Europe and and even though I'm obviously growing up in the US, I'm used to, white European people. To me, it's like I'm in this exotic place. The food is different. Yeah. The languages are different. The culture is completely different. And it's like my version of Asia. Yeah.
We've been doing, how many years have you been going to Europe for summer now?
I think I guess this was my second year. I think I went for a short trip 3 years ago. And then last year I spent 3 months. And then this year I pretty much spent 6 months.
Yeah. I love it. It's a similar goal for me. I really want to do Macedonia and kind of follow the Alexander the Great Trail. I love the Med. And I also want to get up into Scandinavia. I want to go across the northernmost terrain of Norway, Sweden, Finland, and see just all the wild wilderness, 24 hours of sunlight. I always had a dream of basically doing a barbecue at 2 a.m., like with all of us in bathing suits and the sun's up and just like kicking it. It would be so much fun. So endless things to do in Europe in the summer. And I still got a ton that I want to do.
I love it. I love it. And for everyone, if you guys don't know much about Sam's kind of come up journey, if you go to Invest Like a Boss, episode 1, it's called Sam Mark's Personal Millions and Show Intro, how he went from being an average Joe to being worth $10 million. And if you listen to Invest Like a Boss, episode 81, this is our Q4 update of 2017. So basically, everything that we've done in the last year, investment wise, money wise, financial goal setting. So if any of the things that we talked about, like living a big, boss life, traveling Europe, doing these cool things sounds a bit out of reach, take a listen to the episode because that's going to help you have the mindset of success and making enough money to be able to do these big baller, bossy things.
Well said, man. It's been a good journey. It's been a great year. I hope all the listeners out there had an awesome 2017. Get those goals in for 2018. I think it's going to be a great year, and let's all collaborate, meet up, and make it happen together.
I love it. And I love you, buddy. I appreciate you being in my life. I appreciate you being a good friend. I appreciate everything that you do. Both kind of just being there as a friend. Personally, I look forward to talking to you every week when we record the intro and outro of Invest Like a Boss. If you guys haven't listened to this podcast yet, please do. I promise you, even if you're not at a point where you have the extra money to invest yet, this knowledge is invaluable for, first off, goal setting, but also when you guys do get to that point, you'll know exactly what to do. So thanks again for everyone listening to the show. If you really want to help spread the word of Travel Like a Boss, get this in more people's earbuds, tell a friend, tag a friend, take a screenshot of this if you're listening on your phone, put it on your Instagram story, tag us, share it, or go to iTunes, leave a review. And Sam, it's been amazing. And I'm looking forward to a very, very happy and profitable 2018 with you.
Me too, buddy. Thanks for having me on Travel Like a Boss, and good luck and best wishes to all the listeners out there.
All right. I'll see you guys all next week. Let me know how it goes. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to the Travel Like a Boss podcast. If you want to hear more, including the bonus, How to Choose the Perfect Niche episode, join our mailing list at travellikeabosspodcast.com. See you next week, and remember, if you want to travel like a boss, you need to be your own boss. So start your online business today and start living the lifestyle you've always dreamed of.